Hey everybody, we are back at the Hurricane HQ for our official 9 a.m. tropical update for August 18th, 2020. And our today's current headline is we actually have possible major impacts for just about the entire United States East Coasts, and Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Bahamas, and even Cuba can be in on this. We see Invest 90AL actually has a 90% chance of developing, and a lot of the models are showing a possible major hurricane. And this is definitely something to watch. And before we get started, make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the next live update or informational video. And today's comment of the day is from Nightmares. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. I do be scared in Louisiana though. And yeah, I would agree, if I lived down there, then I would be scared because Louisiana does get hit with a lot of systems and hurricanes and all of those types of things, and that's not really a good place to live in peak hurricane season. And our current Atlantic disturbances over the next 5 days are here. You can see Invest 97L is here, and Invest 98L. And both these systems have they're kind of at a similar point right now in sustained winds and pressure. They're actually, since the last update, at the exact same pressure, 1,009 millibars. And you can see more on these individual storms on our website. I'll leave the link in the description. So, Invest 98L right now has a 90% chance of developing in the next 5 days and a 70% in the next 2 days. And those are both high, while this system right here has a lower chance, I believe around a 40% chance in the next 2 days and a 50% in the next 5 days, and I believe we'll have to check on that, although they are most likely both going to develop over the next few days. And here's our current Atlantic Basin image as of 9 a.m. And this is the past 12 hours. And as you can see, we have our tropical waves over here and possibly another tropical wave on its way into the Atlantic right now in this area. So that's also something to watch. But our two main things to watch is here and here. To be honest, I think Invest 90L has a higher chance of becoming major than 7L, but still, I think they both can develop and have a lot of impacts to land and even mainland United States. And here's our average forecast tracks for August, and as you can see, these tropical waves do come right at Africa, usually track here and usually develop by the time it hits this orange to green area, and would either head this way into the Gulf or even up the East Coast or even through Florida, although I think through Florida is less likely. And most dissipating models for 98L show it heading up the East Coast, and that's why it can have a lot of major impacts. And here's the Hurricane HQ official forecast for our possible major impacts of Invest 98L, and the spaghetti models do show it possibly even heading it into the Gulf and heading through Florida up the East Coast. If it does take that path, then most likely it will be a little bit weaker than originally thought if it does head up that way. Although if it does make that northern turn earlier, then it could possibly even become a Category 2 to 3 hurricane as it hits North Carolina and even up to around Massachusetts and Rhode Island areas. So definitely something to watch for the East Coast, and we could possibly see major impacts even for this area, possibly a tropical storm or even hurricane for the Bahamas, Cuba, Dominican Republic. So this system will really come in this way, although it really does depend where it heads. Will it make this northern turn earlier, or will it make it later? And that can really determine how much damage it does to not only the mainland U.S., but even the Bahamas and the Gulf. And now we're going to take a look at the official NOAA forecast on their website. And right now, Invest 970 has a 20%. I'm sorry, they actually changed that. But a 60% in the next 5 days. And now this one also has 70% and a 90% in the next 5 days. So they haven't changed much, but this one has moved a bit more west than the last update, or yesterday at 8 p.m. And possibly we could see impacts from this system in Central America and even the Gulf. And now I'd like to talk about Hurricane Gingivive. Right now it's at 130 miles per hour for maximum sustained winds. Minimum central pressure is 950 millibars. That is quite strong, and it's currently moving northwest at 14 knots or 16 miles per hour. We also have another area to watch in the Eastern Pacific right here. Disturbance 1 has a 10% chance of developing in both 48 hours and the next 5 days. And if we jump over to the Central Pacific, we also have another area to watch. It also has a 10% chance in the next 5 days, although a 0% in the next 2 days. So we're not looking at much tropical development for this system. Also, most likely no impacts to Hawaii from this system. Possibly this one, or even this one. I'm not sure exactly how this is, although maybe some stray showers and thunderstorms from Gingivive has head off and it didn't suck them in, and possibly that has a chance of developing. Although right now these chances in the Eastern Pacific are decreasing while they're increasing in the Atlantic Ocean. And going back to Hurricane Gingivive, if we can get to it. This is sad. It's really sad. Alright, here we go. And now we're going to look at the warning cone for this. And right now, it doesn't show it affecting land as a direct hit, although tropical storm warnings are up for the very south part of Baja California, and even a little bit north of that, tropical storm watches. And it's even predicted to become a major hurricane by a little later into the day, and it's forecast to even hit Category 4 hurricane, possibly. And this is definitely something to watch, especially for Baja California. And if this did change its course slightly, it might even affect the mainland U.S. California area, although I would think that's kind of unlikely. And later today, I am going to make another video on what's the difference between watches and warnings. And make sure you like this video if you want to see that, and subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss it. And now we're going to take a look at the arrival times of winds, and most likely. And you can see these tropical storm force winds can reach all the way out to the very western part of Mexico and a lot of Baja California. So that's why those tropical storm warnings and watches have been issued. No hurricane watches yet, although that can change if it does track slightly closer. And originally, we weren't supposed to see any impacts, although now it's possible. And we're seeing a 90 to 100% chance of tropical storm force winds all the way up until, I would say, central Baja California, where these chances start to decrease. And for hurricane force, we could see quite high, near 100% in this area, and they slowly decrease, although it's possible, and these definitely can change. And 50 knot wind speeds, kind of high until around here, so it's definitely something to watch for wind speeds, especially along Baja coast.
In one coast, New York.
I'm sorry about that, everybody.
For west right now.
Sorry about that interruption. Now we're going to take a look at the wind history. And as you can see, we are getting that hurricane force wind swaths from Gingivive all the way in the central area, and tropical storm force all around it. And when this system does get closer to... I'm sorry about all the interruptions. When the system does get closer to Baja California, then it's most likely going to have that tropical storm force windspan over here. So that is something to watch if anyone's watching this there. And we'll continue to make updates on this as the storm nears Baja California. And now we're going to look at our windy forecast for the system. And right here, you can see it is looking quite strong. This is the ECMWF model. And we are seeing winds. This one is showing up to around 63 miles per hour, which is not quite tropical storm force, or hurricane force. Although the GFS is showing different, and it is showing hurricane force. And these models can differ. And right now it is a Category 2 hurricane. And these models definitely do change, and they aren't always correct, so I wouldn't base this off our true wind speeds. And wind gusts of the GFS show around 103 miles per hour. And with waves, we are seeing waves with Wave Watch 3 up to 45 feet near the center. And along the coast of Mexico right now, we are seeing waves all the way up to 13 to 15 feet, which is kind of high. And by the time this hits Baja California, we'll probably see a whole bunch more waves. Like right here, you can see these strong waves are really entering this area. And wow, at this very southern tip, we could see waves all the way up to around 23 feet. And probably going to see a lot of storm surge with this system. So for anyone in the South Baja California area, you guys should probably prepare for some moderate to even high storm surge in the areas near the coast. And sea surface temperatures are showing once it gets towards central Baja California, it'll become to weaken in this cooler water. Right now, this area of the Pacific is cooler, and in the Atlantic, it's actually very warm and very conducive for development. All the way up to near Long Island area, it's kind of warm. And anywhere below the Gulf Stream here, it's very warm. And this is how we can see that it is kind of cool here, and is not conducive for this storm in any way. And that's why it will begin to weaken as it heads to this area. And now I'd like to show everybody we're going to head back to Invest 98L. And now we're going to take a look at the spaghetti models for this storm. And they do vary a lot, and they are constantly changing. But here is our European model, and I would say half of them show it heading into the Gulf, and half show it heading along the East Coast. But it's kind of early to tell where it's going to head. But let's take a look at the GFS. And the GFS is actually showing it get really strong. Almost up to Category 5 status, possibly. And hitting this area. Although some of these models do head up the East Coast. And if this did possibly hit over here, we might get a Category 5 hurricane hitting the Bahamas area. And this would not be good. And this might actually be our first extremely bad Category 5 hurricane this hurricane season. And if this did head up the East Coast, we would have devastatingly impacts here, especially if it went this way. And this would probably hit the entire East Coast with maybe even a Category 3 hurricane. And if it did take this path, a Category 3 or plus hurricane possibly could even hit Canada, causing a lot of problems for that area, and that would really not be good. And this is something we'll definitely have to watch. The Canadian model actually doesn't show that much, although I usually don't like to use the Canadian model because it's not as accurate as the others. And we're looking at the intensity guidance now, and most of them do show it heading into tropical storm, although I think it's kind of early to tell if it will become a Category 1 hurricane or anything above that. So this is definitely something to watch, but I'm not too concerned about this system yet. Although a few models do show possibly hitting Category 3 status, I am, again, not totally sure how accurate these models are yet. So I guess we'll have to wait and see exactly what we get from this system for 97L. Let's head back to 98L. And again, I don't think much is coming from 98L, but we'll take a look at 97L now. And these models are kind of all over the place, especially for the European model. There's only a few, and most of them take it up. Some even towards Texas, towards the Florida Panhandle, and possibly to affect Louisiana area. Anywhere in the Gulf, possibly impacts from the system. GFS model doesn't really show much from this system. It really just shows it dying off as it hits South America. Only like one model actually shows it hitting over here, possibly as a Cat 1 hurricane at Texas. And the Canadian model is kind of wild here. Some models actually take it even up the East Coast, and a lot of them show it hitting everywhere. Although the Canadian model shows it hitting Florida Panhandle and all the way over here, Louisiana, as a direct hit. And this could be quite serious if the Canadian model was correct with this, because this has some areas with kind of get hit hard. Although, again, I don't really trust the Canadian model that much. And here is our intensity guidance, and a lot of them actually show it hitting Category 1 hurricane. And they mostly fall right down as they make landfall. So, this is something to watch, especially for the Gulf. Although, I'm not too worried about this one. Although, Invest 98L has potential and possibly could become a major hurricane, especially for Canada and even the East Coast. And everybody, I would like to say, if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them in the live stream comments now, and I will answer them for you about this system. And in the next few minutes, you can leave those comments. Also, I'd like to go over one more thing with these systems. I'd like to take a look at the future, what Windy predicts for these systems, and where they'll head for Invest 98L first. And this is the ECMWF, and it's mostly showing it actually get a little bit stronger. Probably a trouble depression as it heads over here. And the ECMWF takes it south of Florida and right into the Gulf, and possibly even impacting New Orleans and Louisiana area as possibly a tropical storm or even a hurricane if it does develop. So this is definitely not good for Louisiana. If it did follow the EMCWF, let's take a look at the GFS model. The GFS is showing it head a similar way. Although the GFS actually shows this system right here, Invest 70L, actually getting a lot stronger. And it shows Invest 98L not being as strong, while we'll take a look at the GFS model for 7L, sorry about that. And you can see it gets a lot more organized as it actually passes over parts of Mexico and possibly even becomes a hurricane in the Gulf, as it possibly impacts Texas to Louisiana in that area. Hopefully we don't have another hurricane for Texas, because they had gotten Hannah, although a hurricane anywhere wouldn't be that good. And here's the ECMWF model for this system. And this one doesn't show it getting too strong. It actually shows it staying kind of weak. and hitting Mexico. And now we're just going to take a look at the NAM model. Although I don't think it shows much. Yeah, it only does show parts of this area. It only shows the United States area. So I would only use this if the system was heading up the East Coast. And I've heard that NAM is kind of accurate. Although it is accurate, but it doesn't take up that much area. And now, if anyone has left any comments, I can answer them now. Any questions about the current storms, you can leave them down below. And I guess I'll just wait. This is the time for you to ask them. And alright, well, I guess if no one has any questions, then I guess I'll end the video here. And make sure you subscribe and ring the bell so that you don't miss our next video and our next update later today. And I'm going to do one video on what is the difference between a watch and a warning, probably around noontime today. And another update probably around 4 to 5 o'clock later today. So make sure you subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss the next update. And I guess I'll see you in the next one.